Hello, we're going to do a short yoga sequence where we're going to explain some common yoga postures and how to make them more accessible. Okay, so let's start off in child pose. So to make child pose easier, we can use a pillow and place that between the legs like my mum will demonstrate. You may also want a block or pillow under your forehead. Good, so using a blanket if that's more comfortable, Mum. There you go, thank you. Good, so finding a nice comfortable child pose, so the arms can either be in front or resting behind, or you can have them like a pillow. So what you want to think about is the buttocks reaching back to the heels. So let's just breathe to start with. Feel the ground underneath you. And notice how you're breathing. Seeing if you can take slightly deeper breaths. And exhale, release any tension. And see if you can breathe more into the back of the body as well. So breathing into the back of the lungs. Good, and you may think of an intention for the class, so that could be something for your well-being. Feel free to make that intention for yourself. Breathe in that intention. And then release into the world. Good, and then we're going to slowly come back up into our table posture. So when we come in table posture, we want to put something under the knees. So there's a towel there you could place under your knees to protect them. We want to have everything nice and stacked. So we've got our hips in line with our knees, our shoulders in line with our wrists. Good, so pressing slightly through the hands, drawing in the belly. Trying not to let the neck droop. So thinking of the neck as the extension of the spine. So we've got a nice strong foundation for our tabletop posture. And we're just gently going to rock back and forth slightly. So just getting what will probably feel like a bit of a stretch in the back and maybe a bit of weight on the wrists, seeing how the wrists feel. Good. And if you have any trouble with your wrists, you can always, I'll just demonstrate this, fold over the mat just to reduce the angle of the wrists. Good, so now we're going to come into our cat-cow. So when we come into our cat-cow, we want to do this mindfully and gently. So one vertebrae at a time, we're going to gently tilt the buttocks up as the belly drops and the chest rises. Good. And then exhale, draw in the belly and then start to round the back and the head drops. Good. So nice and gently working through the spine, one vertebrae at a time. Inhaling, coming into our cow posture, and then exhaling, draw in the belly, rounding the back, let the head drop. So you can do this in your own time. Sometimes it's quite nice to close the eyes and really feel into the spine, feel where you may have some tight spots. And then breathe into those areas. And again, being very mindful. So increasing the flexibility of the spine, but nice and safely. Good. And then we're going to come back to a neutral position and we're going to stretch our hip flexors. So we may want to use some blocks here. So have those at the side. We're going to bring one leg forward, so you might want to help it along. So how we can use the blocks is we can have them in this direction to give us that lift. So again, make sure that you feel stable in your posture. You might want to slightly engage the legs so we're not completely sort of sinking. Have that drawing in from the belly. Good, and we can gently come back and forth, so getting a nice stretch on that hip flexor. Good. If you don't need the blocks, you can come on your fingertips, but just see how that feels. So we can seesaw very gently back and forth. Again, really tuning into your body, checking it's okay with your muscles and your joints. Good, and then slowly bringing that leg back and then bringing the other leg forward, so helping it along if you need to. So finding that connection with your feet as well, pressing through both feet, so using the blocks if you need to. That can help to give you that lift. So that feeling of our hips sinking and our chest lifting, but at the same time there's some engagement of the legs, so we're not just flopping down. We want strength and flexibility in our yoga. Good. So let's just have a few breaths here. And we can gently seesaw slightly, so we're getting a little bit of a hamstring stretch when we come back. Just notice how that feels in the body. Our hip flexors get very tight and short from sitting down, so they need both opening and strengthening. So we're gently opening them here, and we have a bit more engagement in the muscles that can help to strengthen them. Good. Breathe and really notice how this feels in your body, observing the sensations, so you can make any adjustments if it feels too much. Good. And then we're just going to bring that leg back and have one more rest in child pose, so using a pillow between your legs if that feels more comfortable. So child pose should be a rest pose. We want to make this as comfortable as possible. You can have your knees slightly wider apart if that feels more comfortable. And just allow the body to feel heavy. So feel you have the ground underneath you. And see if you can bring the hips towards the heels as much as possible, so you're getting a nice stretch in the back. Breathe in, breathe out. When you come into your child pose, see if you can release a bit of tension and rejuvenate the body in between your postures. Good, and then we're going to slowly come back up. Just give those wrists a little bit of a rotation. Good, and now we're going to come into a downward dog. So I'll show you a modification with blocks, and my mum will also be demonstrating a way of doing downward dog with a wall, which is very good if you're new to the posture. So first of all, I'll show you how to do this with the blocks, and then I'll show my mum how to do it with the wall. So when we come into downward dog, we want to think about spreading our palms, and then with bent knees we think about elongating the back. So downward dog, you want to think about length in the spine rather than worrying about getting your heels down to the ground. That's not important. So that's why it's quite good to bend the legs and straighten. So using blocks with downward dog is one option. The other option is to use a wall. So we can use the wall to get exactly the same position. Good, perfect. So you can see how the back is nice and straight. You don't even have to come that far down, Mum. You could bring your hands.
Oh yeah, actually that does feel better.
Yeah, so you're getting that nice elongation in the back. And of course, if you don't need blocks, you can try without blocks, but I do suggest using a wall or blocks if you haven't done downward dog before, because it is quite a lot of strength in the body and flexibility for downward dog. So let's just take a few deeper breaths here. Inhale, exhale, inhale and exhale. See if you can release your neck and head, and at any time come back down into tabletop posture. Good, so come back down to tabletop, and then we'll just have a nice stretch out again in our child pose using blankets or blocks as needed. Breathe. And then release any tension. So always use these rest periods to tune back into your mind and your body. And this is where we really allow the benefits of the practice in our rest periods. Good, and then slowly come back up. I always like to finish with a little thank you. Thank you to yourself, thank you to yoga for passing on this wisdom, and thank you very much, everyone.